Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it appears that Kuro Games has responded in regards to Augusta's bug in Whimpering Wastes. And the situation that's going on over here is that, well, Augusta's basically going ahead, using her liberation, and then during the time freeze, waves of enemies are dying, and then when they don't respawn, her ultimate is basically hitting, well, let's just be honest here, absolutely fucking nothing. And so, it's probably better to show you all an example of exactly what I'm talking about over here. So, here we go. This is an example of what the gameplay will look like using somebody else on Reddit. Okay, here we go. Right here. And you will, like, use the second cast of your liberation and literally hit nothing with it. This is something that pretty regularly occurs across your Weewalk clears, depending on when you go ahead and actually use your liberation. And so, the reality of the situation actually is that Augusta's liberation is still operating in the same exact way. However, there are occasions where, based off of the wave design in Whimpering Wastes, it still looks like they're respawning properly. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is a clear that I just did about 5 minutes ago. And so, like... And would you look at that? A wave actually respawns in the middle of her liberation, but the bug still actually exists for other types of waves. And so, this is why a lot of people have been spreading the take, right? That the bug was actually fixed because they would see this in their actual gameplay and just think, oh, it doesn't look like there's any issue over here. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. So let's talk about how you can navigate the issue for now, and honestly, what I think Kuro Games should just update for the future. So, Kuro Games' support actually responded regarding the entire situation and said, oh, so regarding the issue where Augusta's ultimate skill fails to trigger monster spawns, we've confirmed that this behavior is due to the intended skill mechanics and not a bug. Augusta's ultimate affects monster waves differently depending on their size. And so this is what they're talking about over here. This wave over here, you can see it's 5 out of 6. Wave 5 out of 6, or what you're seeing over here, actually consists of 2 waves of monsters. I know that's not particularly clear, but that's why we're able to cast our liberation. That's why we're able to cast our liberation, clear one wave, and then the second respawns. You can see where it respawned. That's why people were saying the bug was fixed. And you'll notice, we're now on wave 6 out of 6, even though we killed 2 waves. That's because wave 5 out of 6 consisted of 2 groups of mobs. So, hopefully you're able to, like, see what the issue actually is regarding this. So, their wording over here is a little bit confusing. By large waves, what they're referring to is that numerical wave consisting of more than 1. But there are some waves, like the 3 costs, that only consist of just the 3 costs. Then it'll move the ticker up from 5 out of 6 to like a 6 out of 6, or like a 3 out of 5 to like a 4 out of 5. You can see what's going on over here. So somebody kind of like retranslated it. We basically showed exactly what the problem is. And so let's just replicate it in some traditional gameplay over here, utilizing, well, Augusta in a pretty traditional team of like Shorekeeper, Mortifi, so on and so forth, all of that stuff. We'll put on like her intended thing over here and just put a random team of like jobbers down here. No big deal. So let me just do a couple of like slight adjustments. Like my Mortifi's on like a Cadenza. We'll just like change some of the stuff around. No big deal. This is the lineup over here. Let me actually, I had a call with Gotcha Smack and I intentionally made my Augusta shit. And so I'm making her unshit. So that's going to be the gear that we're going with. Let's give it a bit of a run and talk about where you do want to use your liberation and where you don't. Okay. So the side that I'm going to be on first is kind of like, unfortunately, the more annoying one. We're on the Concerto side. And the thing with Augusta is that, A, you can do a couple of like different rotations. I suggest just doing a full one because of like how her Crown of Wills buff works. And so I'm just going to start off on Shorekeeper, right? Do all of this. Going on Augusta. And just kind of like go throughout her rotation, right? Right? Okay. So now we're over here. You'll notice that I just went to wave number 2. Using my liberation here is actually not that great of an idea. Or actually it is. we just started wave number 2, and so you can see that another bad boy just spawned. And there's gonna be 2 more. So, traditionally, when you're using this character, you want to make sure that this wave just reset like it did right now before using her liberation. And that'll typically get you the best overall results. So let's just keep going through. And that's kind of like an unfortunate like situation regarding this unit, is that, well, you gotta keep track of like this meter on the side if you don't want to just completely grief the shit out of her rotation. So you see over here, we're still on wave 3 out of 3. So it's an awful idea to go ahead, right, and use her liberation now. However, we just went to 4 out of 4. Or we just went to wave 4. So now it's a great time to do it, because waves will spawn during this one. And you gotta make sure this one just ticked before you're gonna mess around with some of the stuff that Augusta's doing. So let's just demonstrate it one more time, and we'll intentionally fuck up this next one so you can get like the bug situation that I'm talking about. So right here is, I'm gonna go in on Augusta, right? Get my... And so wave 7 just spawned, right? I'm gonna intentionally delay my liberation and use it like here. Oh, I'm just dealing no damage. So you can see over here, no real waves are spawning. That's because the tick mark just changed. So that was just like a demonstrative overview of how this mechanic works. Now, let me give my personal take on it. This thing's it's a little stupid, right? It's a little bit dumb. The fact that you need to like watch like this meter and like make sure that it's just fresh and like keeping track the new waves of enemies that are coming in, because, well, each wave basically has 2 sets of spawns, especially in Infinite Torrents. And so it's just like, you only get the buggy issue when you happen to use it in the middle of a wave. And once you like figure it out, I don't think it's like the hugest deal ever to work around it. But it can also mean that you're like running out of something. Like, I'm just gonna be honest here, let's just think about the same exact team that we just used. If I'm delaying my rotation too much, there's a chance that A, this outro skill runs out that only lasts 30 seconds, and then this outro skill from Mortifi has a huge chance to run out. And so I am now like delaying my rotation because I don't want it to hit thin air. But then if I do delay it, it might deal literally 38% less damage simply because of like an arbitrary wave system that, I'm gonna be real here, it sort of affects other characters, but also doesn't affect others as much, right? Because in certain situations, you could say that units like Jinsei suffer from the same issue, right? Where like a Jinsei could go ahead and use like a fully charged laser beam on the second half of a wave and only hit like 2 monsters, right? And then they won't be able to like, you know, have the next wave spawn for those mechanics to occur. It's just, for Augusta, it's kind of like a bigger issue because so much of her damage is backloaded into the 9 Sublime as the Sun Sunborn slashes, and then the big nuke that she does on Everbright Protector. And having this attack begin, you kill all the enemies with the 9 slashes, and then this gigantic motion value of about 1,000, I don't even know how much this is, like 1,000, like fucking 400%, 1,200% goes into nothing. That can feel really bad, right? And I think Augusta, with the time stop, has kind of like accentuated this exact issue. And I think it's something that has been actually present in Weewa the entire time. It's just her kit specifically really doesn't interact well with it because of how much damage she can deal during that time freeze and when the waves are, you know, not spawning. And so I guess this is just my take on the matter. Why are the waves even designed this way? Why don't the waves just like, the second you like kill a wave, the next wave starts spawning in? I don't know why it's set up where like one wave has like 2 sets of spawns and then you can like only meaningfully deal damage to like 2 waves at a time during Augusta's liberation. I'm just wondering why they're just all not like one after the other. Because this issue only occurs in like replicating it is easy, but it like when this is what it looks like when you do it properly. And so like you can see where, like, when you do it properly, it just looks right. And being able to brick your run or brick your liberation because, like, of, like, this timer button that appears on the side just seems off. It seems like just a little bit janky. And so I think that's one of the big reasons why everyone's been calling this a bug. I think it rightfully does feel like one. And while it does affect a fair number of members on the roster, think your Jinsees, your Carlottas, so on and so forth, a lot of characters with backloaded damage, that's a big nuke that oftentimes doesn't hit a lot of enemies because of the way spawns. I mean, I don't really see an issue with reworking the entire spawn system of the mode and making even those characters, right? The Brands, Jinsei, so on and so forth, feel better too. Because it does feel like I understand there's a need for advantages, right? In Whimpering Wastes, depending on how much AoE you have on your kit, how much sustained damage you have, you know, consistent damage versus burst. But this just feels like such an arbitrary thing that doesn't make a lot of sense and just has a lot of lows in gameplay. I don't feel like there's a lot of highs from where this game mode is designed. I feel like all it does is make characters feel worse, and it doesn't make any other characters feel better. So it's a feature that only makes units feel worse. It doesn't make any unit feel better. Why is it like in the game? And why is it like not reworked? That's my take. Because it's more than Augusta being affected over here, but it feels like a balancing lever that just is like telling certain characters on the roster. It's like, let me just bring up the characters on the roster that I feel like are just getting some non-preferential treatment. It's like I open up the character menu and like for Whimpering Wastes, I'm like, fuck you. You're awesome. Fuck you. You're awesome. Fuck you. He's still pretty good because you can do the tab bug. But it's just like, fuck you. You're awesome. Fuck you. And then, honestly, because Havoc Rover's liberation hits multiple times, they're like kind of decent as well. It's just like some units feel like they have a disadvantage just from like their kit design. And that's literally all just because of how these waves work. And so I would just suggest to Kuro Games, just keep all the waves the same and then just like adjust how the spawning mechanics work. Like after you kill a certain number of mobs in a wave, the next wave spawns, or parts of the next wave spawns, and then that just keeps like going on and on and on. It would also eliminate a lot of situations where you're like desperately going after the last couple of, let me just demonstrate it for you. We'll just get in game to talk about it. It'll eliminate a lot of the situations where, like, you see how this next wave is already spawning in, right? Even though I haven't fully cleared the other wave. Just make every single wave in Whimpering Wastes work like this. Where it'll slowly start spawning in, like, the more that I kill them. So, 2 enemies will spawn over here, right? However, I need to kill this last guy for the next wave to spawn. And wow, that token is fucking strong. But you can, like, see what's going on. Just have a consistent level of spawning. Make it so that you don't end up in situations where only, like, one motherfucker is alive like this. The next wave should be in. And then, well, you can avoid a lot of the, I think, issues that people are having with, like, the game mode as a whole. Not just, like, Augusta, but a lot of units. Because, let's just be honest here, right? People are still complaining about Whimpering Wastes to this day. And, I mean, we got to assume there's still a reason for that, right? And I think this is one of the, well, biggest contributors to it. Because watch this, guys. Huh? Wait a second. That was definitely a... That was... Now it worked? I guess this just goes to show we were on wave 3 before that ultimate started, and then we made it to... So, like, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. There's like a 50-50 on whether or not this mechanic, like, works. This shit's bugged. I don't fucking care. The fact that it worked then and then didn't work in the gameplay. I don't even know what to say at this point, right? I feel like I don't need to say anything. Can somebody just clip that real fast and we could just do a reanalysis of it? Because we started that, I'm pretty sure, on wave 3. And we're not supposed to go to wave 4. Because we just recorded a clear where we hit nothing because of that. Let's try it one more time. Let's just try it one more time. Maybe it was completely fixed. Because I swear to God, we just like, we got a bunch of clips where it wasn't working properly. And let's make sure that we save our liberation, because I just want to, like, I need to just test this shit out at this point. All right, so I am expecting the next wave not to spawn. Huh? It's bugged. I don't care. Yeah, no, it just worked then. Didn't work here. You have a 50-50, I guess, on whether or not Augusta's liberation will spawn the next wave. Like, I thought it was based off of, you need to make sure it's a new, fresh wave. We just had a clear where, or we just had an example where the next wave spawned in the middle of her liberation. I don't even know what it is at this point, ladies and gentlemen. But I just gotta say, the level of inconsistency here, and the fact that I'm literally able to get different results, I think it's just too much, man. I think it's too much. The fact that I need like I feel like I need like a glossary. Use Augusta Liberation only on waves 3, 7, or 3, 5, or 1. If you use her liberation out of these windows, you will not spawn the next, like, what, do I need like a fucking index on when I can use my liberation? Brother, that's not a good mechanic. I don't feel like that's intended. That it's like, yeah, it only works on waves like 3 and 5. That just sounds stupid. So, I mean, I'm gonna be honest here. I don't buy whatever support is like putting into here. We've already shown the level of inconsistency that's going on. And even if that inconsistency is intended, it doesn't make very much sense at all for her liberation to be like working on like this numbering of waves. And like, it's just, you can probably already tell. I think that this is like a fucking mess. And all I want is for Kuro to just like iron out the details here and like fucking fix it, and probably just fix it universally across the mode, because it's just at this point, what the fuck is even going on? So yeah, we did a lot of testing today. We did a lot of experimentation. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. I don't know what to believe in anymore. All I know is send some feedback to Kuro so that they can get to the bottom of this, and fuck the beta testers who all said that, like, she was fine in the beta and then worked properly, and we're still having this many issues a week into the past. You guys are paycheck stealing thieves. And I'm saying that when you aren't even getting paid to beta test. You're still fucking thieves. So, yeah, that will be that for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Beta testers ruined WuWa 2.6. They're a bunch of clowns. That'll be that. Peace out.